What's up, everybody? This is Tech G back with another video to help you successfully pass the CompTIA A+ 1202 certification exam. So let's get into it. All right, so if you're studying for the CompTIA A+ 1202 exam, one thing you're going to notice is that Microsoft Windows loves giving you lots of ways to tweak, adjust, and configure things. From how your computer connects to the internet to how it wakes up from sleep, Windows has a control for just about everything. In this video, we're going to walk you through the big list of Windows settings that you're going to need to know for the exam, and more importantly, why they actually matter when you're out in the real world supporting users. So think of this as your quote-unquote tour guide version of Windows settings. We're going to point out the landmarks, explain what they do, and give you some tips for when you're in the field. So let's go. All right, so before we begin, all of these settings can be found in the control panel. So just hit the start button and type control panel, and you will be looking at an image on your screen that looks something like this. This is where all of this stuff can be found for the most part. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about internet options. And where do you find this? You go to your control panel and select internet options, or you can do a search for internet options in the Windows search bar. And what does this do? Well, internet options, this is the control center for Internet Explorer and some legacy network settings that still affect Windows and other browsers. So even though Internet Explorer is retired, many businesses still use these settings for compatibility reasons. And the key tabs that you need to know, you got the General tab, and this is where you set your home page, delete browsing history, and adjust your tabs. You got Security. This allows you to adjust your security levels for different zones. You have your Privacy, where you can manage cookies, pop-up blockers, and location services. You got your Connections. This allows for you to configure VPNs, proxies, and dial-up settings. You got your Programs tab. This is where you can choose default browsers and manage add-ons. And you have your Advanced tab, and this is where you can fine-tune browser behavior with checkboxes for dozens of features. Now, as a real-world example, you might have a user that complains that a company website isn't loading properly, and then the IT department goes in there to find out that the site is in the restricted sites list in internet options. And you, as the IT professional, you would just simply go in there and remove it to fix the issue instantly. All right, next we have devices and printers, and you go to the control panel and you select devices and printers. That's where you're going to find this at. And what it does is it shows all connected devices like your printers, scanners, Bluetooth devices, and sometimes external drives. And you can use this to add or remove devices, set a default printer, adjust printer preferences, and troubleshoot device problems. Now, if you ever see a device with a yellow exclamation mark, you want to right click and choose troubleshoot, because that is your Windows built-in troubleshooter, and that can often resolve any driver issues. All right, next we have our programs and features, and you can go to the control panel, select programs, and then programs and features. And basically, this is your go-to place for uninstalling software, repairing installations, and viewing installed updates. So as an exam tip, the A+, it wants you to know that not all software can be removed from there. And some applications, they do require their own uninstallers or removal tools. But as far as a real-world example is concerned, so when a user's Outlook crashes constantly, you can repair the Microsoft Office through programs and features, and guess what? You will save the day. All right, next we have the Network and Sharing Center, and you can find this by going to the control panel and selecting Network and Sharing Center. And basically, this is the hub for all network connections where you can view your active networks, change adapter settings, set up new connections, and troubleshoot network problems. Now, why does this matter? Well, if the Wi-Fi is connected but there is no internet access, well, the Network and Sharing Center, this is where you're going to go check for unidentified networks or misconfigured IP settings. All right, next we have the system settings, and you can go to the control panel and select system settings, or you can right click this PC and select properties. And what this is going to show you is going to show you the Windows editions, the processor and the RAM, your system type, the computer name and domain, and the Windows activation status. Now, as a tip, this is where you can access your advanced system settings to adjust performance, remote desktop, and startup settings. Then there's the Windows Defender Firewall, and you can find this in the control panel by selecting Windows Defender Firewall. And what this does, it blocks or allows traffic. It creates inbound or outbound traffic, and it enables or disables the firewall per network type. So as a real world example, you might have a game that cannot connect online, so you create an inbound rule to allow it through the firewall. And then we have the mail. And you can find this by going to control panel and selecting mail. And this will allow for you to configure email profiles for Outlook, where you can add or remove accounts, manage data files, and change server settings. Now, if Outlook will not open, you want to check the mail control panel, because this is often the first troubleshooting step. Then there's sound. You can find this in the control panel by selecting sound. And this will allow for you to set default playback recording devices, adjust levels and enhancements, and troubleshoot sound issues. Then there's the device manager. You can right-click Start and then select Device Manager, and this will allow for you to update drivers, roll back drivers, disable or enable drivers, and view hardware properties. Now, as an exam tip, if you see a yellow triangle, that means there's a problem. So your drivers might be missing or the hardware might not be recognized. You also have your indexing options, and you can find this in the control panel by selecting indexing options. And this allows for you to speed up file searches by indexing certain locations, where you can choose what folders to index or rebuild the index if the search is broken. You also have your administrative tools. Go to control panel and select administrative tools, and you can look at the event viewer, the task scheduler, the performance monitor, your services, and computer management. So if an application service will not start, you will use your services to manually start it or set it to automatic. And then you also have your File Explorer options, and this controls how files and folders appears. And this is useful for accessing system folders. You can also untick show file extensions like .exe, .docx, etc. And this basically allows you to control how File Explorer opens, and you can also customize folder view defaults. There was a security tip showing the file extensions. This will help you avoid malware that can disguise itself as a harmless file. You also have your power options, and you can find this in the control panel by going to power options, and the settings that you need to know are Hibernate. And Hibernate allows you to save your sessions to the disk, and it uses no power. You have your power plans, where you can set up a balanced power plan, a power saver plan, or high performance. You got sleep and suspend. This allows you to save to your RAM, and it uses low power. You have standby. This is an older term for sleep mode. You have choose what closing the lid does, and this allows for you to set sleep or hibernate or do nothing if you close your laptop lid. You have turn on fast startup, where you can speed up your boot, but this can cause device detection issues. And you have USB selective suspend, where you can save power by turning off idle USB ports. Then there's ease of access, and you can find this by going to your settings and selecting ease of access. And what this does, this allows for you to go in there and access the narrator, the magnifier, high contrast mode, or your on-screen keyboard. You also have your time and language, and this is in your settings. You can change your time zone, add languages and speech settings. You have your update and security, and this is also in your settings, where you can check for Windows updates, manage delivery optimization, access recovery options, and Windows security settings. Personalization, this is in your settings as well, where you can change your background colors, lock the screen, and put up themes. You got your apps. You can uninstall apps, set default apps, and manage optional features. You got privacy, where you can control your cameras and microphone access, your location services, and diagnostic data sharing. You got devices, where you can set up your Bluetooth, your printers and scanners, your mouse and touchpad. You also have your network and internet, and that's in your settings, where you can do status overviews, look at your Wi-Fi settings, Ethernet settings, and VPN information. There's also gaming, where you can go in there and deal with your Xbox game bar, set up captures, and go into game mode. You got accounts, where you can deal with sign-in options. You can manage your Microsoft account, and you can set up family and other users up in there as well. All right, so we got through all of that. So let's talk about why this stuff even matters. So the CompTIA A+ exam, this isn't just testing whether you can memorize where these settings are. It's checking whether you understand why you'd go there in the first place. In the real world, users will describe problems in everyday language, like they'll say something like, my laptop won't go to sleep, or I can't hear anything, or my Wi-Fi says connected, but there's no internet. And if you hear any of that, then you're going to need to know exactly which setting panel will be able to fix those issues. So you want to master this information, because it's not going to just help you pass the exam. You're basically going to become the person that everybody in the office runs to when their Windows starts acting up. All right, so with all that being said, let's do some check on learning. So our first question is, you're troubleshooting a user's laptop that says it's connected to Wi-Fi but cannot reach the internet. Which Windows settings should you check first to view network status and troubleshoot the problem? Is it going to be Internet Options, Network and Sharing Center, Device Manager, or the Administrative Tools? You're going to go check out the Network and Sharing Center. So the Network and Sharing Center, this lets you view your active network connections, check if you're connected to the correct network, and run troubleshooters. Internet Options, this deals mainly with browsers and proxy settings. Device Manager, this manages hardware drivers. And Administrative Tools, this provides advanced system utilities. And neither of these is the first go-to for general network status checks. Next question. A user wants to see file extensions like .exe and .docx in File Explorer for security purposes. Which settings should you modify? Would this be Programs and Features, File Explorer options, indexing options, or privacy settings? The correct answer is you're going to go to File Explorer Options, View tab. So to display file extensions, go to File Explorer Options and select View tab and uncheck the Hide Extensions from Known File Types, because this helps identify potentially malicious files disguised with misleading names. Also, Programs and Features, this is for uninstalling software. Indexing Options, this is for search speed. And Privacy Settings, this controls permissions, but not file views. And our final question is, a company laptop is set to go into sleep mode when closed, but an employee wants it to stay on during presentations. Where can you change this behavior? Would it be in Power Options, Ease of Access, Personalization, or Administrative Tools? And the correct answer is Power Options. So Power Options, this contains a setting called Choose What Closing the Lid Does, which allows you to change the behavior to sleep, hibernate, or do nothing. Ease of Use is for accessibility. Personalization, this is for visual appearance. And Administrative Tools and Service, this is for managing system services.